It's actually quite the bloody miracle that I'm here at all, given everything that I've managed to avoid near-death wise. Anyway, I am. Lucky for you. Another seriously rotten hose pipe. I mean, you can see all the way through that daylight. Crack there, cracked on the other end there. Anyway, it basically comes off the block. It's an oil breather into this oil breather tank, and then that was that other ridiculous tube that just goes nowhere to atmosphere effectively, which was taking a whole lot more clobber off the back. This unit here was sat on top of it, so that mounts there. Normally there's plenty of cable that goes all the way to the front, so I'm wondering if we just relocate that into this beautiful void that I've created and then reroute the oil breather. I'm not going to use this blue tube, I just happen to have it lying around. Yeah, don't know where that could go. Does it need to go to a tank? Can I just dump it on the floor somewhere like everything else on this bike seems to? I don't know. The thing is, there's no real need to relocate any of this because there's room under the seat, or the existing seat at least. I don't know how I'm going to fit the new seat, whatever that looks like. What do you think? Yeah, don't eat that either. Monkey. Likewise, I'm not going to be using this blue hose either because it fits wonderfully on the tank and doesn't fit at the other end, which is kind of odd because that looks to be the same size all the way through. Anyway, we measured it, so we'll look for some 20mm hose, which is God knows what in Imperial. And then there's the out hose, which goes ludicrously far forward, at which point I suppose it's supposed to be just vapor, if anything at all. But if there is anything at all, I guess it spits it out all over your knee. Very nice. I suppose it's infinitely preferable to spitting it out over the back wheel, which is what happened to me one time when I got my 748 serviced in the UK, and it dumped the entire contents of the oil sump onto the back wheel on a roundabout. Don't know how I survived that and stayed upright, but I did. It's actually quite the bloody miracle that I'm here at all, given everything that I've managed to avoid near-death wise. Anyway, I am. Coil wise, I've been experimenting rerouting this HT lead over the top of the fuel rail, and we're almost there. The only thing holding it back is the actual electricity, which goes down into a loom, which for some reason, unfortunately, Ducati have decided to run under that bar, that crossbar there. You can't really see it there. If it was over it, it would reach. But I'm debating, given that it's only 2 wires, splitting it and joining it, give me a bit of extra length. And then there's this rear coil, as previously explained in a previous episode, that's kind of mounted just in there, which is kind of really weird. So there it is, and that runs that spark plug there. So that could be remounted in all kinds of places actually. I mean, they've put a specific bracket on there, just welded it to the frame. And there's plenty of room down here, or up front, of course. Now, could mount them both together, maybe. Just need a decent bracket to do that. I might explore that. Switching back to the timing covers, they are now dishwasher ready. They still look a bit grubby, but we'll see if it takes the primer. And then on the other side of the ball game, which also went in the dishwasher, was the chain guard, the actual chain guard. So I'm going to be spraying that the same colour. And I might even see if I can drill out those slots. You know, they're nice slots, but they'd be even nicer if they were real. I don't know. Or, yeah, don't know. Something to try out my new bench drill with when and if it arrives. Having read up a little bit on the forums about this, it seems a popular thing to remove because it's just ugly and unnecessary. So the old T-junction in there goes off to the side of the air intake, in fact. Well, no, throttle body. And apparently all you do is take the pipe off, unbolt that bolt, unscrew that screw, and just put a solid nut in there. Now you can see it better there. Yeah, that boy there. Unscrew that, put a solid nut in there. Job done. Yep, and as per the forums, it's 5mm and just a blanking bolt. I don't think I've got any 5mm kicking around. Brake pads turned up today, so I think I'll be fitting those. They went in pretty sweet at the back. Front one's not quite so swift. Needed a little modification, drilling the hole out. Having stripped these two out of that combined loom, I've obviously covered them with some protective casing, which will enable, potentially, the relocation of whatever it was. Oh yeah, the coil. And this, possibly. This is for the fuel tank. Tie wrap those up, and I'll just finish off at the ends with some friction tape, actually, because it's better than insulating tape. Disconnected those rotten fuel pipes and lugging them through the ridiculous route that they go over the top of the cylinder heads. Out the back to the fuel tank. Anyway, let's get rid of them. And then there's a loop around the front, which comes underneath that. Well, let's take that off. There you go. Yeah, that loop there, take that off. And that's the fuel system. Just testing my theory that it'll actually go between the gap of that gold plate and the battery tray. And it does, it fits beautifully actually. As you can see, it comes through there and out there into the fuel tank. So yeah, that's going to be a lot better, I think. A lot less likely to end up like that. Never seen pipes in that condition. Horrible. Minor rerouting of the cable to that front coil under the frame instead of over it. And that now lines up with the battery tray. I don't know if the HT lead will reach. I guess I could try it. Anyway, I'm probably going to do some new HT leads because we have the caps over here. Just texted my mate Ricky Booby to see if he's got any cable lying around. Sure he has, from when we did the race car. The only trouble is he has a tendency to tidy up and throw things away. Yep, that reaches as it is, but I think I'm going to just drop it down anyway, honestly. So I might route that cable back under the fuel rail there. I might not. I'm thinking a bit of my famous recycled office furniture could nestle in there if it was cut to the right size, mounted on there, or you could stick the coils in here nicely, ventilated. Yeah, I think that might work. Then again, it might not. We shall see. Just so happens, if I cut this bit off here, I have a piece that's perfectly the right size. After that abortion of a speedo mount for the MV. Am I allowed to say that word? I don't care. It's an A word, right? Not a C word. Getting properly organised nowadays. Quite remarkable. Once again, my Christmas decoration. It comes in very handy. So I know I need one of those. Thought I had one, but I haven't. So an M10 by 125 Allen head, and I can fit my other wing mirror. Lol. Okay, meantime, I also went and got some 5mm blanking bolts for those throttle bodies where the emissions stuff plugged in. So they're all blocked off. I'm not that confident they're going to be fuel tight, but I guess we'll find out as soon as we fire it up and see if the fuel goes everywhere. Meantime, I've got to flip this because obviously I've used the left-hand one already on the Augusta, and this kind of wouldn't fit. It'll be heading backwards instead of forwards. You want it forwards, so just got to flip that end bit. Easy enough to flip round and ready to go. Won't be needing that for a while. Thankfully, I've still got one bike that's all in one piece and works. So I had a nice ride out on the Triumph today. Love that bike. Got my new exhaust studs for that front exhaust, so that's nice. They're ready and waiting for the exhaust system. All the way from Kentucky. Talking of which, talked to some guys today from Virginia, I think. Really the actual exhaust mufflers, silencers. And hopefully we'll get some answers from them, a couple of guys on eBay, as to whether these are fit. They say they're fit, but then the pictures look completely different. Talking of eBay, I've got lots of other bits as well. I've got some foot pegs that are supposed to be for a Harley. Don't tell anyone. But they're coming, hopefully soon. I ordered some builder's foam for my little experiment with the seat. I don't think it's going to go well. I got the idea from a documentary on building a Formula One car, and I guess this was in the 90s, and they actually mould, or they used to mould the seat to the driver's posterior and frame by literally throwing in a plastic bag and filling it full of probably some high-tech foam, not builder's foam, and then sitting the guy in there so it completely molds to his shape. I've been doing a fair bit of playing around in Photoshop, actually exploring the ideas for possible seats that are out there readily available. BMW seat and actually Yamaha seat that happens to be parked outside the office. I've also been looking at various exhausts on eBay. I'm not confident any of them are going to be a straightforward fit. This one is supposed to fit perfectly. It looks like it might. And I found another one, not on eBay, a supplier in Europe. That's a kind of cherry bomb, classic Café racer type exhaust. That looks quite functional. It's black, but I could spray it gold. So this turned up today. So let's tackle this. Got the quick release valves off, having worked out how to do it. Not quite the same as the MV. What could possibly go wrong? I think I've already proved my point on that aspect. In case you haven't been watching other videos, it's not a problem. Well, undoing it was easy enough, obviously, just a few Allen bolts. But my question is, how do I clean off all that crap without it ending up in the fuel tank? Right? Well, this is my best solution, and I'll leave cleaning up the edge of that, the top level, until I've put it back again, but I just want to get rid of all that muck down there. Yeah. Interestingly, that seemed to be congealed fuel, if that's my best guess. And there's no trace of any sealant whatsoever. So I'm going to clean that up with, I don't know what, but I've got rid of the worst of it with a knife, and just gonna clean it up and put the sealant in there. clamp it down again. Yes, spectacles. I'm reading the tiny instructions on the tin. Turns out I could have just used the camera because that's magnified it for me perfectly. Anyway, we're going to skip stage 1, drain all fuel from tank. Why would I want to do that? Clean degreaser, done that. Yep, alright, let's give it a go. Honestly, this is the easiest way to read it. I've taken my spectacles off. Anyway, no hair dryers involved at this point. Yeah, no. Certainly no heat guns, because there's still gas in there. Tank must be completely, yeah, it is completely, but it's not empty. Stir well, then pour entire contents. Oh, I don't want to do that. I'm not sealing the tank, I'm just sealing the seal. Yeah, fuck it. I'm going for it. I have a feeling I've got entirely the wrong product for what I'm trying to do. What it probably needs is a new O-ring around that main fitting, although that looks plenty, honestly, to keep it sealed. I don't want to do that. So I'm going to do a little bit more research online, because obviously I have got the wrong product. It's for sealing the tank itself, not the bloody fitting. Jesus. And I'm not going to use silicone or any kind of regular gasket bodgy sealing. And here's why. My good buddy Kurt, who helped us build the 944 race car, and if you haven't looked at those videos, please do, because you'll learn quite a lot. Anyway, he decided to seal the fuel tank access, the hole, with silicone. And the first race that we actually finished, in fairness, with, was it with that, or was it with that? I forget, it might have been with a Nissan actually. Anyway, we spent an awful lot of time draining the fuel tank in the paddock. Don't tell the organisers, because all the silicone had melted into the fuel system and blocked up the filter. Thankfully we had a secondary filter. So we had to drain the entire fuel system, the entire fuel tank in the paddock, clean out all that crap. And I'm not doing that with this. So I do remember lessons learned. To start with, I'm just going to actually tighten it down a little and shake it around and see what happens. So as with all these things, I just snugged it up. So the minute I feel any kind of real resistance, I stopped. And I'm doing it in sequence. So I started here, then there, then there, then there. Yep, always diagonally opposite as much as you can, so everything kind of snugs down evenly. But you know that, right? Just trying to be helpful. Well, I tightened it down, not massively, honestly, with just the Allen doofer, as opposed to a ratchet. And this is the edge where it was leaking the worst. I've shaken it around a bit, I've turned it all ways actually, and nothing's leaking out. So was it just some muppet that didn't put the fuel thing back in properly and tighten it down enough? I don't know, we'll find out later. Meantime, it's pissing out of here. So that's not the overflow, that's what went to that emissions bullshit, which I've taken off. So I need to work out how to block that, I guess. This must be the overflow, because that arrow is really helpful. Yeah, I'm gonna leave one of these rags under here just to see if it leaks anything at all, but I really think that was it. Just some twat didn't tighten it up enough. Given that we got a load of petrol fumes around the place, I think it's time for some sparks, don't you? Bring out the Kawasaki. Sparks, as we've already proven, could be an issue. This, not so much. So maybe you can see where I'm going with all this. Nice little tray there, ventilated, with both the coils, maybe this piece. Maybe that, I'll just flip upside down so it gets more cooling from those fins under the seat, because the air will be passing underneath. But yeah, this is kind of where I'm going with this. So mount both the coils on that and anything else that kind of fits there that will be better placed. I kind of like that. What do you think? Or maybe that way, whatever makes most sense. I'm fairly confident that that's done the trick, and I didn't even crank them down hard. So I'm going to clean that up around the edges, all that gunky shite, and I'm going to just crank it down with a ratchet a little bit more, not too much. Don't want to over crank the O-ring. But, I mean, there's nothing coming out of there. So that's all I can imagine it was, that somebody didn't tighten those up enough at some point. Just straighten up the edges on that using my wheelie thing over here. It's a technical term for it, at least. Well, it arrived, and I have prepared the seat for my experiment. Not sure whether I'm going to give it a go right now or not, but be rude not to, wouldn't it? I've only used this stuff in the application it's meant for a couple of times before, and it's never gone well. It's always gone all over the place, in fact. So this could be very interesting. I think I better set up the other camera on a tripod for this one. I'm going to need at least a pair of hands. Are we ready? Could get messy. Not a good start. Don't think there's enough in one can. Yeah, bloody disaster. Well, as random crazy ideas go, that was pretty random, and probably was never going to go very well. So the end result is it's not very foamy, but it is very sticky. And of course I wasn't wearing gloves, so desperate situations call for desperate measures. Not well known for its skincare. I had to use acetone to get the bloody stuff off my hands. So do wear gloves if using that shit. And if you're trying to mould a seat or a shape, don't use that shit. Yeah, all you contractor guys out there knew that wasn't going to go well, didn't you? Should have said something. Time for plan B. New handlebar grips arrived. I quite like those. Very dark entries. And the matching air filter. Yeah, so that looks good. Well, it didn't quite work, did it? But you can see the theory behind it. I mean, it did kind of get the shape in various places. Just totally the wrong material. No harm in experimentation, but I have seen other guys using fiberglass, wrapping stuff in cling film and then pasting on the fiberglass to get the shape. So I'll probably have to start that. As per usual, these don't quite fit. There's a little ridge at the end of the grip, the throttle twist, and that's fouling and stopping those sliding on. They're always a tight fit, but this won't go over it. And then there's this whole mechanism up this end that probably is going to be problematic. So given that I have 2 pairs of these, and I don't know why, my wife ordered them. I don't know whether she put a quantity of 2, figuring I'd need 2 handlebar grips. I'm going to modify this and see if I can make it work, because if I screw it up, I've got another one. That's just gently gripped there in the vise, just enough, because it's only plastic. I'm going to use one of those step drills just to modify that inner lip. Except that's not going to work because none of those are big enough to make a difference, and the big one is going to foul on that metal trim before it makes any difference to the rubber inside, so I'll have to come up with an alternative. Perfect. Now I've just got to find how to fit it. I think it's this boy here. Looks messy, but that's what I wanted to do, so let's see if that's made a difference. I'm glad I had another set of these, because that has mangled that somewhat, that little exercise. It's also proved it does fit over, but we got the same problem the other end, where this won't go over that ridge. Sadly, I don't think these grips are going to work. It's a shame, because they're quite nice. Turns out there's only one Allen bolt holding on that rear coil, because somebody seems to have cut through the frame at some point. So that must have been wobbling around. Anyway, I'm looking at relocating this up front. Here's the power to it that we split out from that loom the other day. Here's the HT lead. Plenty of scope on that to get up here. And I might be doing new HT leads anyway. So this baby would fit in here somewhere alongside its friend. And that'll work nicely. Don't know how I'm going to mount this yet, of course. That old chestnut, and even this could be relocated to the front, because it's all the same cable stuff here. These 2 boys that come from the front all the way to the back, and they could easily, just as easily, go up to the front there, which would just leave the fuel tank power for the pump. Come in rearwards. There's that rear spark plug wire flip round. Plenty of room. If I do use new cables, I'll probably route it up here, like I'm going to do with the fuel lines in between those 2, the gold plate and the battery tray. So it's nice and clear of heat and everything else. It all boils down to how I'm going to mount my little tray in there, which of course, if I could do welding, would be easy, but I can't. And yeah, there you have it. Little bracket here off these guys. That would work, maybe. Yeah, just like that. Well, that would actually work. And it's amazing, isn't it? See, never throw anything away. I'm not going to put it in now because A, this needs cleaning up a little bit, tidying up finish-wise, obviously. And there's still plenty of work to do with rerouting all the cables for the coils. And of course, all the fuel lines have got to go in, so I need access to this area. But at least the plan is coming together. I know, how much video can you take on a tray? But I just flipped it round, and that is actually kind of wedged in place now. So I just want to check that the fuel tank clears it all and there's room underneath, so that's what I'm going to do. Roughly in place, and as you can see, we're good to go. We have clearance. Yeah, I was debating grinding off that nasty mount for the rear coil. Now I'm going to be repositioning that up front, but of course actually it provides quite a good situation for a number plate mount. Yeah, kind of like that. So I think that's what we'll do with that. Up there, barely visible, that's what we want. It's Arizona, anything goes. Obviously not that plate, because that's for the MV. It could also be useful for mounting some kind of oil catch tank, because I think I'm going to need one. Obviously not this biscuit tin, but something half the size of that. Just fit in that gap there nicely. Well, I think that'll just about do it for this episode. Some gripping stuff. Get it? Yeah, I'll stay off the jokes. So thanks for watching, and do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and do invite others to come and watch my lunacy.